Hi, Star. Okay, so say hi to everyone. Hi. Okay, anyways, but I want to start off with a poem today because, if you keep doing Merchant of Venice, it might get too much for you. So let's take a break from MOV for now, okay, and let's try doing a poem. The poem that I want to do today is one of the easiest. Did I say easiest? Because it is the easiest poem in the whole text. Among all the 10 poems that you will be doing, The Cold Within is by far the easiest poem, and you're lucky to have this poem because if this comes in the exam, you are definitely going to score full marks. Since it's the first poem that I'm teaching over this platform, I want you to understand a few things about learning poems. At your age, out of 10 people, I think there are only one or two people who love poetry or who love words or who love the beauty of a poem. Okay, others just find it very boring. If you want to score marks in ICSE in a poem, there are a few questions that you need to understand in a sequence. Okay, A, they're going to ask you the theme of the poem for sure. B, they're going to ask you one figure of speech at least. Okay, so every poem has one unique figure of speech or a literary device. And the third thing is the style of writing. Okay, each poem has an individual style in which it's written. Okay, when you do poetry in detail, when you grow up and you are pursuing English, then there are a lot of other factors as well. But right now in ICSE, these are the only things you need to know in addition to knowing what the poem is all about. The questions are direct. Okay, if your school asks you symbolic questions, that's only because the school is trying to hammer in the poem or hammer in the concept of the poem in your head, or the school is trying to make sure that you understood every aspect of the poem. But in an ICSE board paper, in poetry, the questions are going to be direct. They will never ask you questions where you have to read between the lines. Okay, so you don't have to worry about symbolisms. You don't have to worry about different interpretations because every individual interprets a poem differently. Okay, so as long as you justify your interpretation of the poem, you're good to go. The first thing about Cold Within is understanding what the poem is about. If you've read it, you already know it. There's hardly anyone who doesn't understand the poem because the language is so simple. There are six people. They are trapped in an isolated location. It's very cold. They only have one fire lit, and the fire is keeping them warm. And they have to make sure that the fire keeps burning in order to stay warm. Each of them has a log of wood that they're holding on to. Okay, now in order to keep the fire burning, they have to feed the logs to the fire, but none of them do so. Each of them holds on to the log of wood, eventually freezing to death. The poem is trying to understand why someone would be stupid enough to not put in their log of wood. When you read the poem, you'll realize that each of us could have been in that position. We may not have the exact reason for not sharing the log of wood, but human nature is highly flawed. Okay, and the purpose of this poem is to try and teach you youngsters not to let these flaws get the better of you. The main flaw that I'm talking about over here is prejudice, okay? A preformed opinion. We all are prejudiced. We already form opinions about other people. Students, for instance, already judge a teacher before they even know a teacher. Teachers are prejudiced towards certain students based on what other teachers talk about the student. So, if you walk into a staff room and all teachers are like, hey, you're teaching 9D, all the best, dude, that class is crazy, you are one unlucky teacher. That's prejudice. You won't know what 90 is like until you actually step into the classroom. Okay, so this is one of the major factors I'm dealing with in this poem. Six humans trapped by happenstance simply means coincidentally, by sheer coincidence, six people were trapped in bleak and bitter cold. Bleak and bitter. Look at the words, bleak and bitter. It shows me that the poem does not have a nice positive tune. It's not the pleasant cold. It's bitter cold. It's extremely cold. Okay, the cold that you don't like. So six humans are trapped, okay, in bleak and bitter cold, and each one possessed a stick of wood. Each of these six people possessed us. They had with them a stick of wood. Okay, or so the story is told. Or so the story is told, shows us that this is a common folklore. People talk about it. This is the style of the poet. He's just trying to keep it casual. So, six humans trapped by happenstance, six people happened to be trapped coincidentally in bleak and bitter cold and extreme cold. Okay, and each of them had with them a log of wood, or so the story is told. Or this is what I know. Their dying fire in need of logs. Their dying fire. Fire is not a living thing. But if I say the fire is dying, I'm giving a human quality of dying to something that's not living, that's fire. The figure of speech over here, personification. Okay, so when you give a human quality to something that's inanimate, that's personification. So for example, the ice cream cone is tempting me. The ice cream cone is not tempting. It's not like aja aja. No, you are tempted by the ice cream cone. So it's personified. They're dying fire in need of logs, but the first one held hers back. Now, in different versions of this poem, here in your textbook, there's a woman we are talking about because it says held hers back. She held her log of wood back. But in certain versions of the poem, there's a man we are talking about over here. Okay, so first one held hers back. For is because among of the faces, of is among the faces she saw around her, she noticed one was black. Immediately you see a racial tone come in over here. That's my first prejudice. Discrimination on the basis of color. So she has a log of wood, but she doesn't put it in because she knew that one of those six people did not share the same skin color as hers. She didn't want him to be benefiting from the warmth that her log of wood would contribute. That's prejudice. So the first one doesn't put in her log of wood to keep the fire burning because there was one person who's black. The next man, so the one sitting next to her, looking across the way. The word cross with an apostrophe means across. Okay. So the next man looking across the way saw one not of his church. He saw that one of these guys was not of the same church. Now, when I say same church, what I mean is did not observe the same religion as he did. He didn't believe in the same religious practice as this one did, and couldn't do it. He couldn't do something. Couldn't bring himself to give the fire his stick of birch. Birch is nothing but a branch, a piece of wood, a type of wood. Okay, so he says, this man, the second person sitting next to this woman, he looked around the fire and he saw one of them did not observe the same religion as he did. So, on the basis of religious discrimination, on the basis of the fact that this person did not follow the same God or the same idea that he had of God, this guy does not put in his log of wood. The third one, fourth paragraph, third guy, the third one sat in tattered clothes. The word tattered by itself tells me that this man is poor. Tattered means torn. And because it's very cold, he gave his coat a hitch. A hitch is he pulled his coat closer around him. So he gave his coat a hitch. So the third one sat in tattered, torn clothes and he gave his coat a hitch. Why should the log that he had be put to use to warm the idle rich? To warm the idle. IDLE is somebody who doesn't do any work, someone sitting idly. So this guy who's poor clearly has an issue with rich people. Rich people think poor people don't work. Poor people think rich people don't work, and poor people are the ones who are working. But the issue here is socio-economic differences. Okay, there's a disparity between rich people and the poor people. Why does the rich guy need my log of wood? Okay, I'm already poor. I should reserve the log of wood for myself. Why should I give my log of wood to benefit the rich guy? Let's see. There's a woman who hates black people. There's a guy who doesn't like someone who doesn't observe the same religion as he does. There's a poor person who hates rich people. So clearly, I know that my fourth guy is going to be a rich person. The rich man sat back and thought. Okay, the rich man is just sitting there and thinking कि क्या फायदा हुआ ये सब पैसा earn करके. Okay, he's thinking यार क्या होगा मेरे सब पैसों का? What if something happens to me? Okay, how do I keep my money away from the poor person? So the poor person clearly has a problem with the difference between rich and poor people, but the rich man is worried about saving his money. So the rich man just sat back and thought of all the wealth he had in store, how to keep what he had earned from the lazy and shiftless poor. But the rich man is a stingy person. His problem is different. All he cares about is all the money that he had earned, how to keep that money to himself. He doesn't want to share anything. He doesn't want to give away his piece of wood. Shiftless is ambitionless, someone who has no ambition. Poor. At this point in the poem, I want you to realize why I chose this poem. Okay? Today, right now, I mean, in this situation, in this lockdown, this poem makes more sense to you than anything else. It doesn't matter whether you're black or white or brown or of whatever color you want to be. It doesn't matter whether you're rich or poor, and it doesn't matter what religion you observe. None of these things are helping you today. All of us are locked in a lockdown. All of us are facing the same situation. Yes, I know some of you will argue that no, sir, but poor people are going through a tougher time. Yes, all that is true. Eventually, all of us are trapped. All of us are powerless. All of us have been brought down to our knees by this virus. Okay. So, in life, what's important is to be a good person, because death does not discriminate between people. If all of them had thought smartly, they could have put in their logs of wood, they could have bought more time, and they could have had the hope of being rescued. Okay, the poem hasn't ended yet because I've got four people down. I have to talk about two more people. I already know that there was a woman who hates black people, so my common sense says there has to be a black person somewhere. That's my fifth guy. Okay, so the fifth guy is a black guy. The black man's face bespoke revenge. His face was full of revenge. He had seen the disgust on the white person's face. He knows that the white girl did not put in her log of wood because she didn't want the black person to benefit from it. So he also is in a mood for revenge. He says, "तूने नहीं डाला तो मैं भी नहीं डालूंगा, ठेंगा अपन दोनों मरेंगे साथ में." The black person's face bespoke revenge, was full of revenge. As the fire passed from his sight, simply shows that the fire was dying now. It's on the verge of going out. For all he saw in his log of wood was a chance to spite the white. All he saw in his log of wood was a chance to pay back. Okay, तूने नहीं डाला, मैं भी तेरी मदद नहीं करूंगा, and that is revenge, baby. So he doesn't put in his log of wood in order to spite the white. Spite is to mock or to teach her a lesson. He doesn't put in his log of wood because he doesn't want the white person to benefit. The sixth person, the last person of this forlorn, lonely, isolated group of people. Two opposite words. When I see two opposite words together, clubbed together, it becomes an oxymoron. For example, this picture is pretty ugly. Now, when I say pretty and ugly, two opposite words together, or if I say this watch is genuinely fake, okay, it's not. But I'm saying this watch is genuinely fake, genuine and fake at the same time. Two opposite words, oxymoron. Okay, so this one is an oxymoron. The last man of this forlorn group is together, forlorn is isolated. The last man of this forlorn group did not. Nought not is not Nought not is nothing. He did nothing except for gain. The last man of this fallen group did not accept for gain. Giving only to those who gave is how he played his game. He only gave to those who gave. He has no discrimination. He's selfish. He's thinking, why am I being the good guy over here? Nobody, none of these guys put in their log of wood. What do I have to gain? Some people would call him an opportunist. If he doesn't see an opportunity to gain something, he will not put in his log of wood. Now, again, I know your argument is, but sir, he could have benefited, right? He could have saved himself. Yes, but that's exactly what the problem is. If he had his own little fire, he would have put in his log of wood. But when this fire and his log of wood is going to benefit others as well, that is something he can't digest. So he doesn't want to help anyone else unless they would have helped him. So giving only to those who gave was how he played his game. Game over here is life. How he played is how he lived. So this is how he lived his life. First woman hates black people. Second man did not see someone of the same church. Church over here represents religion. Third person is poor, who has a problem with rich people. Fourth person is rich, who has a problem with poor people. The fifth person is the black person. And the sixth person is the opportunist, okay, or this selfish guy who doesn't do anything until he has to gain from it. The last paragraph, the last verse shows you what the poem's all about. Their logs held in death's still hands, okay, which simply means they died. They died holding on to their logs of wood. They froze to death, okay, so their logs held in death's still hands. Still is cold, okay, something that doesn't move. So your death is personified. Death is given the human quality of holding on to a log of wood. Simply means they died. Their logs held in death's still hands was proof of human sin. Was proof of human sin. I think the line is pretty clear. The fact that they died holding on to the logs of wood when they could have put it in showed that these people were engulfed by their own prejudice. They didn't die from the cold without, but from the cold within. They died from the cold within. That justifies my title. They died because of the cold within them. The cold over here is a negative emotion. So there you go. That's the poem. It's pretty simple. I hope you understood it. I'm attaching my notes along with it. So I want you to go through the poem once again. I want you to listen to this explanation again, and then read the notes. And then I think you're through. So once this poem is out of your way, and if this poem comes in the exam, what you managed to get is 16 marks for yourself. So 16 out of 80 is not a bad thing, okay? You managed to get at least, now we all know we'll at least take home 16 marks with us, okay? So that's nice. So I hope this poem comes in the exam. All the best, guys. Take care.